How do you make an RPG the easy way? There are 4 elements you want to provide. Entertainment, an adventure, which allows you to grow. Classes, which deliver a sense of identity. And significant choices, which are transcribed by interconnected quests. All games and story need to offer a balance between diversity and consistency, even more so when it comes to role-playing games. They need ample time to unfold. Progressiveness is key to install a coherency between the elements of your game. Entertainment requires a certain degree of balance. The players always need to succeed. It is a prerequisite in order to progress in the game. It is why success shouldn't be ended. Give players a high chance to survive, not a high chance to succeed. Success should rarely have desirable outcomes, only a necessary one. Players need to use their resources efficiently to succeed, and it should almost never be comfortable. You'll give players some easy victory for the sake of diversity. When it comes to fun and replayability, simple rules are best. Organic rules which unfold as you play, oriented towards fun, allowing player to learn and develop. Rules should be oriented towards player satisfaction, wherever it is when they triumph over the game, or when they are looking for a way to beat the system. Players will break your game, provided the rule to do so. When it comes to customization and user interface, you'll want to prioritize 3 factors: character's identity, factions, and storyline. There are 3 types of core information on your user interface. The status, which includes afflictions and acceleration, classes, role, statistics, and skills, whether they are skills for combat or skills for exploration. There is also the inventory, which regroups key items and equipment. And finally, your user interface should display the world map and active quests. Then you can add submenus for each category. You can even display the synergy between these pieces of information. You want to provide an adventure, an experience. Characters are the first point in order to make your experience real. Diversity makes characters feel real. Some of them will have a likability factor, will display friendliness, and they may be particularly helpful. Some will be more relatable. They'll mirror the player through their weaknesses, and the players will want to solve their issues. Others will be more memorable. This memorable factor comes from quirks. Well, why quirks? Well, which one do you remember best? The character which threatens the region you're trying to save, or the one with the funny hat which uses the stupid catchphrase each time you meet her? Each character will have a likability factor, a relatability factor, and a memorability factor. The combination of likability and relatability will enhance the memorability factor, but it is mainly delivered by quirks. Adventure is transcribed into exploration. Role-playing games are discovery. We play these games to experience diversity, a diversity of environments, of settings, and of quests. Multiple quest lines is an essential part of RPGs. And a hierarchy of quest lines is an easy way to organize the game progression for the players. They can then follow it or ignore it, whether it is the main quest line or subsidiary ones. Escapism becomes even more essential then, and players should be able to enjoy the RPG without finishing the main quest line. These games transport players out of the mundane and offer them new possibilities. They should be relented by unnecessary contrast. Adventure is then transcribed through growth and immersion. Let the character grow as the story unfolds. Let them start as a simple character, someone unimportant, and from them grow. Let them have their first achievement, gain some popularity. Most characters will still doubt their claims and their fame. Let them have a second achievement, or defeat a larger threat. Let them gain some approval from the reigning authorities. Many people will still question their value. Finally, let them have a third achievement. This time, make it so that everyone will recognize them. Let them beat the menace of the story. Get renown from all over the world you created. It will get them new enemies and new followers. Growth comes in three parts. The character acts, it achieves the act, and there's an aftermath. The aftermath should be diverse regarding to the diversity of outcomes and issues. It's where immersion comes from. Immersion here is key. You want to let this consistency of more immersion unfold progressively. Identity in RPGs are most often defined by classes. When it comes to balancing classes may be tedious. Some games don't offer a class system because classes may be inherently unbalanced. Specific classes will be adapted to specific situations. Focus on always giving the player one preferred option and allow her to find others. You need to balance the experience as a whole, not each part. For a similar reason, most games won't provide a satisfying magic system. There are multiple difficulties when it comes to balancing a magic system, and there's one plausible solution. Don't balancing by limiting the effects of spell, balancing by giving spells to every kind of character. When it comes to single-player games, prioritize fun over balance. Games with a more complex and versatile magic system would be appreciated. 4. Customization. Classes are the core system, one of the foremost tools of customization. Classes often transcribe players' identity, even if it's just partial. Classes should include 3 individual criteria when it comes to customization: origins, behavior, and equipment. Individual criteria because they relate to the individual character independently of its class. You can improve a class system by including a backstory system linked to it, allowing the player to develop their class through a backstory multiple choices question system. You may want to combine your class system with a species system in order to customize it even further. And finally, you may want to introduce a restrictive system of equipment, allowing only certain classes to possess certain spells or equipment. It is not a necessity. From options and armors sets to a more slot available, classes have multiple ways to selectively restrict possibilities, but you can use statistics for that too. Define specific weapons for each classes. The replayability factors are enhanced by classes is transcribed by finishing the game. Classes are one of the main reasons why most players will replay a game. Even so, new games should offer a replayability factor even if the player doesn't want to change of class. By proposing a flexible system, you increase the game's replayability. Offer hybrid classes. Allow the player to develop their character in a different manner. For example, by offering them new items which develop the world, encouraging exploration, or by offering a different storyline, which is supported by these different items and new hybrid classes. Classes are often transcribed through organizations and guilds. They should open player new relationship. Classes will often define why an organization exists, but it's not exclusive, because some organizations are open to all kinds of players. Relationships which should help the player to grow faster. Organization should also answer the world's administration. Therefore, choosing a specific class should have an effect on your world's balance, on how other characters react to you, on their degree of affinity, on their options when it comes to reacting. Choosing a specific class may also have effect on the organization members. Organizations are always heterogeneous to some degree, which opens possibility for conflict and cooperation. You can increase the consistency of your game by developing interdependencies between these organizations. Roleplay is defined by choices. Impersonation is the core part of roleplay and will often transcribe the choices directly. When it comes to impersonation, there are three main cases. You may be impersonating the main character as interpreted. You may be playing yourself. Or you may be trying all the options because you want to 100% the game. You can try multiple kinds of dialogue options, silly ones, shocking phrases, but you may also want to add some mundane lines for the sake of diversity. Roleplay is defined by trying. And trying should be opening more possibilities for options, even if the options themselves are limited. Anticipation is transcribed by predictability. You want to have a certain degree of predictability to produce involvement, which in return will generate memorability. You want to implement a diversity of quests, some serious ones, some not so serious ones. Diversity will help you to provide a narrative structure, and a narrative structure allows you to deliver predictability in your anticipation. You may even want to have some bad quests, especially if that makes them more memorable. The main quest may have an impact on all the other quests, but it is not a necessity. Players need a common reference point in order to predict the next event, to predict a crisis, and, if you allow it, to prevent this crisis. Choices are meant to be significant, as they are limited. Player needs to make choices, which seem to matter. Namely, you need to be able to see these choices' consequences. How can you tell if your choices are significant? There are 4 criteria. These choices will affect your reputation. They should be directly acknowledged by the person you helped, or its relatives. It should allow you to develop new relationships, and/or it should allow you to solicit these relationships. These 4 criteria are not necessarily cumulative. How do you define your options? Branched options are best, And if you can create a complex maze of options, it's even better. But how do you define essential criteria to create options? You want to propose not more than 3 options to your players. And there's a purpose. There's an easy way to introduce clarity in branched options. Colors. Use a color code for your options. And then, by giving them 3 option maximum, the color code and limited choices help the player to decide efficiently. And it hints to the outcome a due choice is supposed to lead to. You can go for good, neutral, bad, or order, neutral, and chaos alignment system in order to provide your 3 options and the color code corresponding. If you design a universal alignment system, give player a frame of reference. But there are other kinds of options when it comes to color. You can try to design efficient options, which is the most objective approach, or fun options, which is the most subjective approach. You can also propose balanced or reasonable options, dramatic or exaggerated options, compassionate options, and or hateful options. Here, compassionate and hateful are different from good and bad, since they are specific to the character and not to the situation.